not expect everybody to do everything.
For abandoning her boys. She would never even vote me down.
The sunglasses are here for vibes. Just by the way, Lady Bird, Regina George, Amy Dunn, Isabel Conklin, Devi Vishwakarma, the entire cast of Euphoria. We stan complex female characters, but I think we can all agree these women would be destroyed if they actually existed. The amount of crash outs this family has had in public, like, I would kill to see the Cousins community Facebook groups.
If Belly was a real person that I knew in real life, I would talk badly about her every chance I got. Every time I would see her at, like, a party, like, if we went to the same school or something, I would literally be like, oh my god, it's the girl who was with one brother and now she's with the other brother. I would talk about it probably every time I saw her.
Every top comment on Davy's TikTok would unfortunately be some version of, oh, that's not. Regina George would have an influencer arc, but then someone would inevitably expose her on Reddit. And then we'd all turn on her for not being a girl's girl. You see, whether you love these characters or love to hate these characters, we are all showing up to watch the drama unfold. And that is exactly what the creators of our favorite movies and television shows want. I could sit on Twitter for hours after a Euphoria Sunday. And to be honest, the minute an episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty is over, I am running to the nearest comment section. It's cathartic in a way, because you understand on some level your criticism or outright hatred for a certain character or plot line does not impact anyone negatively. That is, until we dip our toe into the world of reality television.
Interesting.
Hi everybody, my name is Sid and welcome back to the coolest channel on YouTube. Sid for short. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back.
Ew.
I don't have much to say, so let's just get into it. So when I started making the script for this video, I immediately started to think about season 6, episode 1 of Black Mirror, Joan is Awful. If you haven't seen this episode, I really recommend you go watch it. It's actually so fun. Joan is your average woman. You know, she works a job, she has a boyfriend, which is who she's with when she comes across this new show on Streamberry called Joan is Awful. It's starring Salma Hayek, and to Joan's surprise, the show begins to dramatize parts of her day where she wasn't exactly at her best. You see, that morning, Joan had to fire an employee. She went to therapy and talked a little bit of smack about her current boyfriend, and then proceeded to go meet up with an ex-boyfriend.
Yikes, yikes, yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes.
Joan is Awful not only exposes all the things she's done, it exaggerates and heightens the situation she was in as well. When we watched the real Joan react to coffee earlier in the episode, she just kind of made a face. When we watched Salma Hayek as Joan react to bad coffee, she's a lot more cruel about it. Everyone has access to this show on Streamberry. Her coworkers, her family. This results in Joan being isolated by her peers, fired from her job, and broken up with by her boyfriend. What Joan discovers is that there's actually a clause in Streamberry's terms of agreement that allows them to use her likeness and her story in any way they please. The whole episode ultimately dives into the morality of AI, but it also has a clear motif about main character syndrome and free will and the decisions we make when we think nobody is watching. It also quietly asks us why we're so obsessed with other people's lives and why we tend to weave complex narratives over moments that don't necessarily deserve that level of analysis. Jeez. It also quietly asks us what? Oh, okay, Sydney. This word is gonna kill me. We've gotten so comfortable picking other people apart, whether we have little context or zero context or context curated by a third party. It's messy, but it's profitable. This is where we get into the gnarliest part of the conversation. So I watched Popstar Academy back in March, and at the time I knew nothing about KATSEYE, I knew nothing about Dream Academy, I knew nothing about the survival show. I was simply watching the show because I was bored. In 2021, Hybe and Geffen set out to form the world's next big girl group. They sifted through over 100,000 submissions, and by 2023, they picked 20 girls to put through absolute hell. As someone who works in a competitive industry and trained in a competitive environment, I was quite familiar with the casual cruelty and altogether intensity of the adults guiding them through the process. What was hard for me to watch was the girls being thrown to the mercy of the internet for the sake of entertainment. It's one thing to be judged by your mentors and peers. Those people know you and your work intimately. It's a whole other thing to be judged by a stranger who, in addition to not knowing you personally, likely doesn't know anything about singing or dancing themselves. When the girls finally went public, there was a clear dynamic shift and a drop in morale. Emily, the best dancer in the program, was ripped apart for using the word y'all in her introduction speech, which locked me up. That was honestly traumatizing to watch because I'm also from Texas, so if saying y'all is a crime, arrest me. Ignorant people were and still are questioning Danny's ethnicity. Adela, who was praised for her work ethic by instructors, scored the lowest after their first mission. This soulless woman claimed that Adela was ultimately eliminated because voters saw her as a solo artist, which to me is absurd and illogical. It makes zero sense. Let's actually follow this line of thinking. So I'm watching a survival show, okay? I see someone, I think, oh, that person, they're so alluring. They are actually the it girl. I love them so much. You know what I'm gonna do? You know exactly what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna vote against them. And I'm gonna make sure they don't get a platform to debut and be signed and seen by more people. I'm gonna make sure they don't get that. Gen Z stare is what you deserve. And of course, as we all know at this point, M.I.A, who ranked low in skill categories and was criticized for poor work ethic, quickly became a fan favorite. Beyond social media, the girls were also forced to rank each other and were presented with those results live on camera. The fallout was so bad that it pushed Lexi, who was a favorite among the executives, to remove herself from the competition altogether. It wasn't until 2024 when Netflix released this documentary that we got a look behind the curtain and people could see how their comments negatively impacted the girls and how the high pressure environment may have... What's that? Oh God, okay. I'm getting word that nobody learned their lesson and instead have doubled down on their hatred towards these women. The choices these teenagers have made are now forever immortalized for the entire world to see, which is not good, to say the least. The current discourse surrounding KATSEYE is exhausting. It's exhausting. Most specifically in relation to M.I.A, and it all goes back to what happened at Popstar Academy. Most recently, people are alleging that M.I.A deleted photos from her Instagram with Danny after she met up with Nyesha, a contestant from Popstar Academy who has made a few shady remarks on social media at M.I.A's expense. There was also a ton of uproar when M.I.A wasn't being featured in promotional posts, with fans claiming that Hybe is trying to soft launch her removal from the group. And then tell me why I opened TikTok last night, the night before I'm about to make this video, and people are ripping this video of them decorating their light sticks to shreds. Every second video I get is them talking about these freaking light sticks, and it's crazy. Now, I don't know whether or not these claims are true. I don't know whether there's beef among the group. What I do know for certain is that if someone documented my high school theater department's day-to-day happenings, you wouldn't have to edit a thing for Drama Honey. Not one thing. I thank God every single day that Netflix didn't make a documentary about my college BFA acting ensemble. I've said and done things out of pure insecurity, ignorance, and selfishness that to this day still embarrasses me, and embarrasses me to think about people seeing me in that way. You know what I mean? I also know that if Hybe and Geffen were willing to deceive and exploit teenage girls for the sake of generating buzz around the survival show, I wouldn't put it past them to just conveniently leave their most talked about member out of promotion. In the same era that gave us the song Mean Girls, talking about internet trolls.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. That's a bell.
And not to be the friend that's like too woke, but I've also taken note of how the K-pop model of fan engagement thrives on parasocialism. All I'm gonna say is that your anger probably isn't just misdirected. It's likely something that production companies are now counting on.
Played these games before! I said I played these games before!
I'm gonna throw it back for a second. Nah, not like that. I'm talking about Throwback Thursday, okay? As someone who loves documentaries and reality television, I can tell you that the exploitation of girlhood has been happening for years and will unfortunately continue to happen until the end of time. We saw it on Dance Moms. When the show started, the youngest girl was 6 and the oldest was 13. There was little conflict to document on their end, but that did not stop the producers from trying. The girls were constantly edited to make it look like they were giving each other mean looks or talking bad about each other in interviews. Fans were constantly encouraged to pick sides whenever there was a rift in an episode. And it only got worse as the girls got older and were starting to legitimately have interpersonal conflict. I think we all know how horrible it can feel to open social media and see that your friends have hung out without you. Now imagine your friends go hang out without you, they post about it on social media, and the next day you have to feel all of those feelings in front of a television crew. Imagine your friends making fun of your speech impediment and how annoying you talk and how annoying you are, and then having that used as content for an entire episode. Imagine your mom getting into a tussle in the middle of Bourbon Street and the next day having to go to school and like show your face after it aired to the entire nation. Imagine getting racially profiled and berated because some grown, ignorant woman hates your braids and having that documented for people to watch as many times as they want. Imagine having your parents' dirty laundry weaponized by your dance teacher and watching your mom lose her literal mind and knowing that someone's gonna tweet about that one day. Bro, imagine attending an open call audition and hearing,
The girl with the bad haircut, get out here.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
these girls did not grow up normal. And to me, they're an anomaly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I really can't name another television show that has created this intense of an environment for kids that isn't a competition show and that follows them for as long as we were following the girls on Dance Moms. This is why I was incredibly appalled when they announced they were going to do Dance Moms A New Era. Pretty much all of the girls and their moms have spoken up at one point or another to talk about how stressful the environment was for them. Literally, they would be like getting sick and throwing up because that's how stressed out the environment made them. To this day, a lot of them, I'm gonna say most of them, still struggle with anxiety and other issues that came with being ripped to shreds on television and then picked apart on social media. My problem with Dance Moms A New Era is you are now purposefully putting children back in this environment. In the original Dance Moms, okay, you couldn't have planned the type of conflicts that were happening because there was so much lore, there was so much to pull from that the moms were fighting about, and that came with growing up in front of television cameras and growing up without social media and then suddenly having that success. You know what I mean? Are you following what I'm saying? So to try and replicate that by having the girls talk more, by trying to get sound bites of them being sassy, by bringing them once again to the mercy of the internet on purpose, is wild to me. I could get so deep into it. I really could. But that's for another day. It's giving for another day. In short, if we can't stop these shows from being produced and we can't stop marketing from making bad decisions, we have to be able to control ourselves. At this point in my life, I can confidently call myself a Cat's Eye stan, and I'm pretty excited to see what the future has in store for them. I would just hate for them to feel like they have to tamper down their personalities or be extra careful on camera because of what could be taken out of context. Even comments or videos that are like in good fun can make others uncomfortable. I literally cringe every time I see someone make an edit talking about their sexualities. Like, you guys are crossing a boundary. You're crossing a boundary. What is that phrase? Don't ask, don't tell. No.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
But seriously, no, actually. Just don't be a part of the problem, okay? Don't make assumptions. Don't project. Some would say, before you post, think, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? That's all for today's video. I had to stop myself so many times from going on tangents when I was writing the script for this. So if there's a topic or something I mentioned that you want to hear more about, I'd love to delve into it and just like leave it in the comment section below. I would tell you to subscribe, but this is America. It's a free country, so do whatever you want. I don't want to push you. Tell me your cat's eye bias in the comments below. I'm gonna let you guess mine. You have 3 seconds to guess. It's Megan. It's Megan. Keep being yourself. Cat's eye for watching this. Cat's eye. Okay, that's enough.